Am I the a-hole for admitting to not putting as much effort into my mom as my stepmom? I, 30 male, am at a loss here and not sure what to do. When I was 3, my mom, 52 female, married a guy who did not like the fact I wasn't his and didn't want to constantly provide for someone else's kid. The week before the wedding, he gave her an ultimatum, and because he had money, she chose him and opted to just have me on weekends when he wasn't around. My grandparents became my primary caretakers until my dad was able to move back to our country. When I was 6, my dad married my stepmom, 54 female, and I admittedly didn't make things easy for her for a while. I had some abandonment, trust, and mommy issues, and I took it out on her. My stepmom was a very loving and patient person, but made it clear that she wasn't going to take my crap. Eventually, we were able to find a type of relationship that worked for us. When I was about 15, my dad passed away, and I was so lost and hurt. My grandparents offered to take me in, but my stepmom would not hear of it and felt like I needed to stay close to my half-siblings, 8 female and 8 male. She got me therapy, and I was able to work through even more of my issues. By the time I graduated high school, I was calling her mom and always grateful for the effort she put into me growing up. 5 years ago, my stepmom was diagnosed with cancer, and I was devastated. Even though the doctor said that they caught it at good time, still I felt like I was going to lose her and took a lesser paying job so that I could move back home and have more free time to care for her. I basically became the man of the house and handled a lot of the finances, took my stepmom to most of her appointments, sat beside her on most of her meetings with the doctor, held her hand when she was suffering through the chemo, and did my best to give my siblings normal of a life as possible. It was a rough time, but she beat cancer, and I'm not ashamed to say I wept tears of joy and made several posts in celebration. I even paid for us all to go on a family vacation. Now, my mom, unfortunately, was diagnosed with cancer a few months ago, and I was sorry to hear about it. I sent her a card and called her to say that I wish her the best, and sent her some information that my stepmom found very helpful. Recently, my cousin called me enraged at the lack of effort that I'm showing my mom compared to what I gave my stepmom, and how she's hurt that her own son doesn't seem to care whether she lives or dies. I honestly didn't think about it very much when it came to my mom. I'm sad for her, but I don't feel like this would wreck my world sad. Am I the a-hole for not caring very much about my mom getting cancer? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your mom made her bed. She should lie in it. Well, if it isn't the consequences of my actions. Not the a-hole. You have a close and loving relationship with your stepmom while you don't with your mom. So your feelings about losing your mom aren't as strong. Anyway, it sounds like you lost her. Really, she chose to lose you a long time ago. Your feelings are just fine and normal. What should you do? Well, you could call or visit more often, but keep in mind you might be berated for neglecting your mom, which could open up a whole can of worms about what you did in the past. Not the a-hole. People love to use blood to excuse horrible behavior. You can't hate them, they're your mom. Or, let it go, I mean their family. But never once are these arguments weighing in how we should hold family to a higher standard. You're not getting revenge here, you're returning the same energy. Nothing wrong with that. Ask yourself this. If this was a random friend who treated you this way, would you even consider their feelings? Not the a-hole. Your mom made her choice when she chose her new husband over you. She's hurt that her own son doesn't seem to care whether she lives or dies? Try being discarded by your own mother when you're a kid. Your stepmother actually took on the role of motherhood and was actually there for you, and you returned the favor. Motherhood is a privilege, not a right. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom she can't see her grandson unless she changes her attitude? My husband, 33, and I, 31, are pregnant with our first child after trying for a year now. We found out that we're having a baby boy, and we're so thrilled. So we decided that we were going to do a small gender reveal party. My mom always wanted a granddaughter, and she even wore all pink to the gender reveal. When the blue confetti came out, everyone cheered. Except for my mom. She decided to leave and go home, so I didn't see her the whole rest of the party. After the party, I decided to get on social media, and the first thing that popped up was a post from my mom saying, "Worst day ever." When someone asked what was going on, she replied, "My daughter is having a boy when I wanted it to be girl, but I guess it's okay." I called my mom, and I told her that unless she changes that attitude, then she can't see her grandson. And she just screamed at me, but I kept it firm. My husband and in-laws agree with me, but other relatives called me an a-hole. So, am I? Not an a-hole. Imagine a grown-up acting like a petulant child who didn't get their own way. I'm sure she'll come around, but be on guard that she doesn't eventually show favoritism to any future granddaughters. You may need to continue to protect your son from this woman. Precisely. Opie, it's okay for your mom to be disappointed, but it's not okay for her to complain about it publicly. I've seen a lot of AITA posts about husbands/fathers being disappointed that they are having a girl, or that they have all girls and no boys. And they are roundly and correctly branded as a-holes. Your mom is as well, for the same reason. Hold firm on your boundary. Not a-hole. Not a-hole. Worst day ever? We can all think of worse. Congratulations on your happy news. Incidentally, we just found out this past year that our older child is a daughter, not a son. I always kinda wanted a daughter, not to the point of being disappointed in a son, mind you. And now I have one. Life is weird. Worst day ever is the kind of thing my 5-year-old says when he doesn't get his way. And I don't let him get away with that kind of behavior. I think that Opie's mother can be held to at least the same standard as a 5-year-old, right? Not a-hole. Not a-hole. Your child doesn't need a grandparent treating them like crap because they're not the gender she was wanting them to be. You don't need to support her immature and disgusting reaction. Not a-hole. Any judgments about gender reveal parties aside, your child's gender is not about her. It's not even about you either. Technically speaking, you didn't choose to have a boy. She's practically shaming you for getting pregnant with a child of the wrong gender. Next story is titled, "Am I the a-hole for telling my sister that she is not an adoptive parent?" I, 34 female, have 3 kids. 2 are adopted from China. 3 years ago, we got matched. We decided to announce it to the family at our Christmas party. When we said we're adopting, the first words out of my sister's, now 32 female, mouth were "me too." I was very confused, as she had never seemed interested in adoption. So I asked her what she meant a few minutes later, and she started telling me all about the new corgi she was getting. I was kinda annoyed because I feel like it's weird to compare the adoption of pets to human children, but I let it go at the time. Fast forward about 7 months when we were home with the girls. They were 4 and 7, and the grieving process was very hard, and it was just a difficult adjustment in general. When I tried to call my sister, she kept comparing it to her dog, which she had gotten a few months earlier. Like, I would tell her some things that are triggering to my daughters, and she would say, "Oh yeah, how we had trouble with that on the first few days, but we just kept exposing him to it, and he got used to it. Howie is her dog." First of all, that is terrible advice. And second, she would say it like she was some experienced parents giving advice to a new mother. She has a stepson, but he was 11 when she met him, and 13 when she became a stepmom. She has not adopted him, and her husband choose for her not to be a parental figure for him. So I don't really think it's her place to be giving out parenting advice. Well, the last straw was that I go to a Zoom adoptive parent support group, and yesterday we had an event type thing where you could bring in a friend or someone who may be considering adoption and give them a little insight from the parent's point of view. My sister asked me to invite her as she said she may adopt one day. I did. And when they started talking about how sometimes in orphanages, children's hygiene aren't taken care of, aka they don't have their teeth taken care of, and often wear the same clothes for multiple days in a row, my sister started talking about how it was similar to how her dog was treated in the shelter, and how annoying it was to have to take him to the vet for his teeth because they weren't properly cared for in the shelter. Everyone in the meeting looked very uncomfortable, especially the woman in charge, who is an adoptee. After the meeting, we were talking on the phone, and I tried to tell her nicely that it was an inappropriate thing to say when talking about the human conditions of actual children. But she accused me of not caring about the human conditions of dog shelters. I said, "I do care about that, but it's not the same as children. And adopting a dog from a shelter is not the same as adopting a child, and doesn't make you an adoptive parent." She hung up on me and blocked me on Facebook. Did I say something wrong? Am I the a-hole here? Edit. I did invite her specifically. I reposted the event to my Facebook page and my sister messaged and asked me to invite her. And this was not a conversation type thing. It was a presentation put on by the group leader / agency rep, so I didn't think she would have much time to talk. And also, I thought this would help her learn more about actual adoption and how different it is to animal adoption. Edit 2. I do understand what it's like to have a dog and how they're like a baby in some way. I have 4, but I still would never compare the adoption of my dogs versus the adoption of my daughters. Now for the top comments. Not today, Hall. You're right. And I speak as someone who adopted animals instead of kids and can't biologically have children. I call my pets my babies, and I have a hardcore bleeding heart for animals that are mistreated or neglected, or in shelters that don't provide what they need. But it's apples and oranges to human adoption. The state of orphanages that neglect their kids can be awful and heartbreaking. I have 2 adopted sisters from Ukraine who came from an orphanage where they were not fed enough and have very little human contact. And it's a completely separate issue. Both are terrible circumstances, and both can manifest really difficult issues once the adoptee finds their new home. But they are not the same issue and can't be compared that way. I agree. The 2 things just aren't comparable. It's like saying comparing apples to oranges. OP, you need to either set boundaries with your sister or get it drilled into her head that it's not the same thing. To be honest, she sounds kind of jealous of you adopting and all of the support and attention she thinks you're getting. She either won't / can't adopt and is trying to earn that attention or make up for it with what she thinks is the next best thing. So either set up some boundaries like shutting her down, establishing what she did in the meeting was not to happen again and was unacceptable, etc. Or just get it bolted to her forehead that an adopted child and adopted dog are not the same. Not they Hall. Not they Hall. Dogs and cats aren't human children. I'm a bleeding heart tree hugger and wish more people cared about their pets. But it's not the same thing. And it's incredibly insensitive of your sister to not see that line at all. Yeah, it's like a layman saying they are a insert credentialed / licensed professional here instead of a hobbyist, enthusiast, someone knowledgeable, etc. I consider it akin to a homeopath improperly claiming to be an MD or someone telling an educator with an MA in education they're also a school teacher. Not they Hall, and your sister is delusional. Don't get me wrong, I love my cat and she's my baby. But I don't go around saying I'm a single parent, WTF. Seriously, your sister is badass crazy. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for staying quiet when my stepmom tells my stepsister I chose them? So my dad married Jane 7 years ago. She was a new mom, recently out of a bad relationship with the father of her daughter, and my dad was recently widowed. They fell in love fast, and my dad became a dad to Callie, now 7 female. I, 17 female, have no problems with him moving on fast. But about 2 years in, they started having issues with me saying step. They told me it was going to give Callie complex and take from her having a nice perfect family. I told them I wasn't going to call Jane mom or refer to her as my mom, and they would have to deal with it. So Jane decided to flip the script. She would tell Callie that I chose them, that I chose Jane to be my new mommy, and Callie to be the sister I always wanted but never had. It's not at all true, but I'm not out here trying to crush little kids. Then recently, Jane's family decided to do this photo shoot of all the mothers and their children. I think it was something like they wanted to show the strength of mothers even during the toughest times, that is lockdown and the state of everything with COVID. Jane asked me to pose with her and Callie, and I said no. Callie then asked why would it be in the photos if I chose Jane and her as mom and sister. Jane went into the whole thing again, and she did it in front of me, I think hoping I would agree and maybe had a reason, or make me cave into agreeing, why I wasn't going to be in them. But I said nothing. I let Jane be the parent, and afterward she was angry. My dad told me I should have agreed with Jane and reassured Callie that I loved and chose her and Jane, because that's all Callie knows. I told him I'm not going to lie about seeing Jane as a mom to me when I don't. I also said they're the ones who came up with the idea of me choosing them and they need to deal with that. They still think I was an a-hole for not saying anything. I think it's their job as parents. Yeah, I'm almost an adult, but that doesn't mean I'm responsible for parenting. I also think eventually Callie will figure out that I don't feel the way they say I do, and maybe she's even starting to figure it out. I can acknowledge the whole thing has been confusing for her and probably hurts because she's been given these expectations and they're really not true. And I feel bad for her because I know how badly the truth can hurt when you've been in the dark for a long time. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. This is really strange. There's nothing wrong with having a step-parent. She and your dad are being super weird about this. Also, 7 is way past old enough to be able to comprehend the idea of step-parents and have siblings. Parents shouldn't lie to their kids about the makeup of their own family. I understand that Callie's a stepsister actually. I still don't get the concept of Opie choosing them and why acknowledging that they're step-family is bad. Jane might have a complex about having a perfect family, and anything that reminds her that it isn't perfect could be a negative to her. My mom had some. A lot of. Guilt over not giving me and my brother a perfect or normal family when my parents divorced, so maybe this is something like that. Not they, Opie. They dug themselves into a hole with their story. You didn't choose to go along with it. Callie will figure it out soon, probably. Kids aren't as dumb as most people think. Not Dayhall. And what about you? You lost your mom and you were being used and lied about. Your stepmother is self-absorbed and delusional. Your feelings don't matter. You're being used to pamper her and her child. Good for you for following your conscience and being a real person. I hope you have people in your life that truly see you and care about your feelings and not just what you do for them. Find those people. That, and where is Callie's bio dad? Not involved? Not Dayhall. Families come in all forms. Creating this illusion that they are the perfect family isn't healthy for any of them. Not Dayhall. It's really sad that you can't tell your little sister that your mom died, and while Jane is your stepmom, you wouldn't want any other stepmom because she makes your dad and you happy, and that's all that matters. I feel sorry for your little sister who isn't getting the opportunity to understand the real situation. Children aren't stupid, and they deserve to understand the truth.